So the WNBA are not going to be happy with this. That's all I'm going to say. They are absolutely positively not going to be happy with this right here. If you guys don't know, obviously Caitlin Clark is what you call it. She is in the she's going to be in the WNBA as part of a NBA, or I'd say NBA team on NBC. And NBC also has got WNBA games. So at the end of the day, this is something that you'd be thinking, okay, when it comes down to it, Caitlin Clark is going to be...
NBC's executive producer stunned viewers with a jaw-dropping declaration made live on air during an NBA broadcast of all places, proclaiming Caitlin Clark the most iconic figure in basketball history across both men's and women's games, past and present. The comment didn't fade quietly. It hung in the air, bold and unmistakable. This wasn't subtle praise. It was a seismic statement, one that landed squarely on the WNBA despite NBC's own partnership with the league. The reaction was immediate and explosive, triggering outrage throughout the WNBA and its tightly knit power circles. What followed was a swift spiral of shock, backlash, and controversy that few could have predicted.
More iconic figure in basketball, in women's game right now, or the game in general, about Caitlin Clark. In the game in general, that's all I gotta say is that that is not something that the WNBA would be happy with. We saw it. The WNBPA said that Alyssa Thomas was the reason why people are watching. And by the way, it's not even, people are like, oh, it was the finals about Alyssa Thomas. No. They literally said it wasn't just the playoffs, but our regular season broke records as fans went to watch Alyssa Thomas. Like, that is a statement.
The explosive comment from one of the WNBA's most influential broadcast partners struck at the heart of the league's long-guarded philosophy of enforced parity. By elevating one player so boldly, especially a figure as polarizing as Clark, it instantly disrupted the league's carefully maintained balance and its deep-rooted preference for collective identity over singular superstardom. In that moment, a clear fracture emerged: tradition versus momentum. The WNBA's foundational ideals collided head-on with the undeniable commercial pull of its newest and most powerful star, a conflict that quickly spilled into public discourse and ignited simmering tensions behind closed doors.
No. They literally said it wasn't just the playoffs, but our regular season broke records as fans went to watch Alyssa Thomas. Like, that is a statement. That is a statement the WNBPA had put out. I have to say, that is a statement that they had put out to say that fans came to watch Alyssa Thomas instead of Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. Even if you wanted to say Angel Reese, it is what it is. I think you're allowed to say Paige Beckers if you are, because I'm pretty sure plenty of people in the media have called Paige Beckers the face of the league, and they've not gotten in trouble with the league, or they're not seen as problematic in the league. But now the NBC, the executive producer for...
Previously, the WNBA had put forward a bold claim of its own, attributing record-setting viewership, including regular season ratings, to Alyssa Thomas, while minimizing the influence of Caitlin Clark and even Angel Reese. That carefully crafted narrative, designed to serve a specific agenda, now appears sharply undermined by NBC's daring proclamation. The moment laid bare a growing disconnect between the league's preferred messaging and how mainstream media actually defines star power. The contrast is impossible to ignore, exposing a deeper struggle over narrative control, one that is only fueling the controversy instead of containing it.
Face of the league, and they've not gotten in trouble with the league, or they're not seen as problematic in the league. But now the NBC, the executive producer for NBC Sports, has basically said, yeah, there's no more relevant player, not only in the women's game. And this should be the biggest duh for the WNBA and the biggest W, that they have basically just said that a player in their league is now, in fact, the most iconic figure in basketball. This is on an NBA post. This is for an NBA show. They have just stated,
this was far from an isolated instance of selective acclaim. A stark double standard has been in play for quite some time. Other high-profile stars, Paige Buchers among them, have been effortlessly labeled the face of a league by media voices without triggering internal pushback or whispers of impropriety. Yet when Caitlin Clark earns similar, or even greater, recognition for her unmistakable impact, it suddenly becomes a point of contention, breeding tension and quiet resentment within the WNBA's inner circles. The imbalance lays bare a deeply entrenched bias that continues to shape perception, recognition, and resistance across the league.
A male or female. But at the end of the day, it's what you call it. It's an obvious statement. But they're not going to be happy. You just know it. Like, people are not going to be happy, basically, with, instead of where people should be happy being like, oh my God, people are actually saying that about a women's basketball player. We're now going to be at the stage where it's like, oh yeah, you know, you've said it, you didn't say it about a women's basketball, you can't say about that women's basketball player. Now that's racist. Because saying Caitlin Clark is, you know, the most relevant person in basketball, no, that's racist. Like, I haven't seen that much of it, to be fair. And to be fair, most
WNBA-centric media, in particular, has maintained a visibly hostile stance toward Caitlin Clark. As recently as 2 years ago, commentators who voiced support for her were routinely labeled problematic, a telling reflection of the dominant narrative at the time. That mindset hasn't disappeared. Even now, some analysts continue to argue that the Fever are better off without Clark, despite overwhelming evidence that her presence drives surges in viewership, attendance, and overall engagement. This ongoing framing reveals a deep-seated reluctance to acknowledge her singular influence, perpetuating a divisive climate that favors narrative preservation over undeniable reality.
That they dreamed of getting. And are calling it slaps in the face. They're getting the coverage that they've always wanted to get, and they've been, like, people are talking about it like it's, you know, like not a big thing, and like completely irrelevant because, you know, oh, maybe it's not the right person. Because it's not, you know, Caitlin Clark's not the right person. We don't care about the coverage we're getting. We're going to complain about it. We're going to call it growing pains. We're going to do everything we can because we wanted the league to grow through somebody else. But again, if that was...
The Cheryl Swoops controversy stands as a glaring illustration of how deeply rooted this bias has become. A high-profile media personality initially misrepresented Swoops' comments, falsely implying she had argued that a relatively obscure player mattered more to the Indiana Fever than Caitlin Clark. Although the mistake was later admitted and formal apology was made, the commentator then curiously pivoted to defending Swoops' original, widely condemned, remarks about Clark. The entire episode bordered on the surreal, exposing the lengths some will go to downplay or diminish Clark's impact, even in the face of undeniable factual errors.
But yeah, at least, you know, the NBA and NBC, who are, you know, covering the WNBA. And I do think that the likelihood of Caitlin Clark, if the WNBA season doesn't happen, I actually don't know what's going to happen if the WNBA season doesn't happen. I mean that. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't know what they're going to do, because if the W season doesn't happen, it's done. Like, the league is done. Like, what happens? Do players walk the picket line? Like, there's a world where I know 98% because they want to show a united front. But if you actually ask